Today, here to give us the opening remarks, we have Mr. Ariel Betan.
Okay, thank you, Monique. Um, Welcome to the 19th Youth Congress on Information Technology, also known as the Y4IT 2021, and the third day of our second virtual Congress. Hopefully, yung mga taga Northern Luzon, no, ng mga participants natin, mga kasamahan natin na sana ay naka-attend na sila ngayon kasi ay alam naman natin in the past 2 days sila ay dinaanan ng bagyo and we hope they are all safe. Okay? As in the past 18 years, while we still miss the excitement of live audience participation, so iba talaga yung energy, no, nung mga ano natin sa UP Chatter, sa SMX, etc., no? Our 3-day virtual congress are packed with informative presentations and discussions on the various fields of information technology, which we are sure you, the participants, will gain new knowledge from. Even with the pandemic that has faces us to change how we do things, technology continues to play an important part and even becomes more relevant in our daily lives as students and IT professionals and would be IT professionals. We try to continue pursuing the realization of our dream careers, even amidst the COVID-19 pandemic and the fourth industrial revolution that is happening now. For today's discussions, will revolve around research as a career and career development. I would like to emphasize that research is very important, not only as part of education or as a requirement for finishing your degree programs o para makagraduate, no? Lahat po ng pinag-uusapan natin, ang mga trends, ang mga datos, mga data na siyang batayan o basis ng mga presentation mula pa nung ating first day will not be possible without research. Ang mabilis na pag-unlad o development sa teknolohiya ay hindi mangyayari kung walang research. There will be no innovations without research. IT companies all have R&D o yung tinatawag nating research and development units. Parating nakadikit ang development sa research. Mapapansin nyo sa pangalan ng mga unit na yan. And of course, they will be needing IT researchers or IT professionals that have skills also in research. Okay? For today, very much related for your career and development of your career in research are the following topics, no? Yung the National IAI roadmap para alam natin kung ano yung patutunguhan ng artificial intelligence, practical data science, no? Isang ano ngayon yan sa panahon ngayon, no? Women in computing, applied computer vision, 3D action role-playing game, etc., no? And in the afternoon, equally important and interesting topics for career development are 21st century skills, software engineering skills for the future, job roles in data analytics, and digital skills for the future, and open source, no? Importante open source, exceptional and everyday technology. We hope you will learn a lot today, as in the past 2 days. Again, on behalf of the organizers, the UP System IT Foundation, the UP Information Technology Development Center, the UP Diliman Department of Computer Science, and the University of the Philippine System, we welcome you to the 19th Youth Congress on Information Technology, to our thousands of participants in Zoom and YouTube all over the Philippines. Thank you for attending. Thank you also to our speakers for sharing, for taking their time out, for sharing their ideas and knowledge, our sponsors and partners for continuously supporting Y4IT. Good day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ariel Betan, for setting the tone for today's session. All right, guys. So before we continue with our next speaker, would like to remind you that we are currently live streaming at UPSITF's YouTube channel. So go ahead, pwede nyo tayong mapanood din doon, alright? Okay guys, so before din tayo mag-proceed muna talaga sa ating next program, gusto ko malaman guys, what are you looking forward to in today's session? Sige nga, patingin ako ng mga sagot ng ating participants sa ating chat box. Ayan, hello, good morning po from Holy Cross Santa Rosa, College Santa Rosa, Nueva Ecija. Christine, happiness. Si Carly, sabi niya happiness. Okay, yun ang kanyang look forward ngayong araw na to. Okay, good morning from Palawan State University. More knowledge, of course. Meron tayo niyan. For the next IT developer, yes. Excited si Annie Lynn. Thank you, Annie Lynn. More knowledge from Fern. To learn more about information technology. Interesting facts, sabi ni Ranz. Alright. Okay, don't worry guys. Dahil, yes, yes. Tama dyan. To learn more, inspiration, yes. We look forward to new opportunities. Next generation of Bill Gates. Wow. Looking forward for more inspirational messages and insightful talks from the speakers, from Nathan. Motivation for their career paths, from Mike. Yes, all right. Together we rise, from Mary. Thank you very much, guys. Yes, lahat yan mako-cover natin later sa ating discussions. Alright, so as mentioned, katulad ng mga Y4IT Day 1 and Day 2 natin, we want this seminar to be interactive and engaging. So please do share your questions to our speakers, your thoughts, and even messages of support to them. So even yung greetings mo nyo sa friends nyo, sa colleagues nyo, professors, go ahead, send them in and we will greet them for you. Alright? So guys, narinig nyo na rin ang instructions natin kahapon kung paano manalo sa ating raffle. Okay? From our sponsors, from our generous sponsors. Thank you very much. Ngayon pala nagpapasalamat na kami. So how to send your entries? So as mentioned yesterday, all you have to do is you can either pwede kang mag-take ng picture mo, ng selfie mo, pwede kang mag-TikTok. Okay? But include nyo doon ano yung Y4IT experience nyo. Okay? So, pag na-post nyo na yon, na-tweet nyo na, don't forget to use the hashtag Y4IT2021. Alright? Okay. So now let's move on to our next speaker. So our first speaker is the head of Asian Institute of Management's Aboitiz School of Innovation, Technology, and Entrepreneurship, the Executive Managing Director of the Analytics, Computing, and Complex Systems Laboratory, holder of the Aboitiz Professional Chair in Data Science, and the Academic Program Director of the newly launched Doctor of Philosophy in Data Science program of the AIM, the first and only PhD in data science program in the Philippines and among the few in Asia. Let us all welcome Dr. Christopher Monterola.
Thank you, Monique. May I share my screen, please?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Can you see my screen? Can you
Yes,
check?
we can see your screen.
Is it in the presenter's view?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Monique. I hope you guys can hear me clearly. Yes, good morning. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat, Professor Pitan and Monique. And thank you for the invitation. Especially thank you to Professor Jimmy Caro for this invitation for today's event. I believe that the theme for today's seminar is research as a career. And I would like to start with that idea that one thing na i-discuss ko po ngayon is the concept of data science. And data science is an applied research. Becoming a data scientist is actually having a career in research. And I will be describing why is that the case. No? But before I start, let me give you, so the title of my presentation is Case Study of How Data Science Drives Industry and Government Innovation. And a simple proof that it indeed drive industry and government innovation is this. In October last year, starting October last year po, at least sa Pilipinas, in the average, ang may pinakamataas na sweldo ay yung mga tinatawag natin na data scientists. And they are younger by 3 to 4 years in the average compared to doctors and lawyers. Previously, the way tinitingnan natin when you look at career, gusto kong maging lawyer, gusto kong maging doctor, and makikita po natin ngayon no, na the data scientist now overtakes in the average this career, no, doctor and lawyer. And as you can see, for those who are in the STEM field, those in IT are among the higher in terms of salary. Mas mataas po ang salary ng ating mga nasa IT, no? But the concept of data science, pag nilagyan nyo ng research ang pag-understand ng data, you increase your value more. Okay, nakakalungkot isipin though that the teachers and nurse and in the average, they are among the bottom of this pyramid. So, my presentation for today, okay, will provide a perspective on this particular field, no? But maybe a quick question based on the previous data is why do say data scientists get paid so much? And this is what I will be highlighting in my presentation for today. The first one, we all know this. We are not training enough data scientists, proper trained data scientists, which is really about anchoring through applied research. And second, and more importantly, because of the monetary value they bring to the company. When once you are contributing to the value of the company and you are linked to the value of the company, obviously you are paid more. And there, I will be demonstrating in my presentation today some of the work that we've done with different companies. And you will see that you can indeed contribute significantly to different companies as a data scientist. So my presentation for today will follow the following outline. First off, I will be briefly discussing the so-called Industry 4.0 and the science of data. And then the highlight of my presentation will be on the second and third part where I will be discussing data science applications in government and industry. And then the National AI Roadmap, no? The National AI, the National Center of Artificial Intelligence research specifically. I will be describing how different conglomerates actually try to help come up with this National Center of AI Research. So very quickly, okay, let me tell you why data scientists right now is very much on demand, no? And it is essentially because of the following technological trends. We talk of smart devices every time. We talk of smartphones, smart cities, smart cars, smart manufacturing, smart watches. At the heart of these smart devices are feedback sensors that collects data. And based on that data, it emits a feedback to the system that it is trying to sense. And this is exactly the reason most of these data are, of course, information. This is the reason why right now it is no longer mechanical movement that is the main source of the one that consumes the most of electricity. It is actually trying to get information. So you can see in the social media alone, in 1 second, that is just 1 second, no? Breathe in and breathe out, you'll get 1 second. About 9,400 tweets are sent. And look at this, no? 3 million emails sent. In fact, the total email sent within a year is about within a day is about 129 billion. That is about 18 times compared to the population of the world combined. Ibig sabihin po nito kasama dyan ng mga spam, no? And yung greatest na consumption ng energy natin is about data rin, no? Information din ang nilalabas natin. As a result, we are growing the total data that we have by 9 to 10 times every 2 to 3 years. Okay, another way of looking at this is that in the last 2 to 3 years, 90% of the data that we have produced are since the start of the civilization, since the start of human civilization, actually nagawa lang natin ang mga data na to in the last 2 to 3 years. And this is a good news, no? We can store this data now. Sa mga katulad namin ni na Prof. Bitan, na abutan namin lahat ng devices na to, no? And as you can see, in 1980s, 1990s, gumagamit tayo nitong nitong floppy nitong disk na to that can only store 1.4 MB. not even sufficient to store a high resolution photo. Right now, it is common to see a 2 terabyte USB device that can store all your images. So we are producing a lot of image. This image can now be stored and it's becoming cheaper. No, it's becoming cheaper. In 1970s, 1 megabyte of data can cost 1 million US dollar. Now this cost is reduced to essentially almost zero, no, 0.00001 USD. The decrease is an outstanding 10 to the 11, no? To raise to 10 to the 11. Ganun ka. This is an exponential decay, definitely an exponential decay in terms of the cost of data storage through the years. And also, we have computers that can crunch this information or this data at a very fast pace, no? This is the first supercomputer and it's quite fast. It can do 5,000 instructions per second. The weight of this is 30 tons or 30,000 kilos. But even an old model of an iPhone, this is just an iPhone 7, iPhone 6, it can execute more than 25 billion instruction per second, which is 5 million times greater than the speed of the computer in the 60s that weighs more than 30,000 kilos. So this is essentially the driver of the so-called Industry 4.0. And to all our audience out there, ito po yung reason, yung big data, bigger storage, and very powerful computers, kaya hindi lamang nagkakaroon ng innovation, pero nag-accelerate ang innovation na nangyayari. New paradigms are being developed, new business models are being developed, and yung mga tinatawag natin na gut feel, nawawala na yan, no? Kasi nalalaman natin that there is a better way of doing business, no? Or creating innovation more than the gut feel. But that is driven by data and technology. And though the good news is that, as you all know, technology has improved human lives. Medyo nabawasan ng konti yung lifespan, but the trajectory is that it continues to increase, no, from 61 in 1937 to 77.5 years old in the average para sa human population. But the bad news is that the companies are actually, hindi ko alam kung necessarily bad news to, pero namamatay po yung mga companies. S&P 500 companies are the top 500 companies in the US stock market. You can imagine that these are actually the top 500 companies in the world. And from an initial of 75 years of lifespan, okay, in 2012, naging 15 years na lang po ang lifespan niya. In fact, 12 to 15 na ngayon yung lifespan ng mga companies na S&P 500. Ibig sabihin po nito, ito yung challenge sa generation ng mga bata ngayon, sa inyo po, ng mga estudyante dito. In your next job, pag hindi po katulad naming mga nasa 40s na, nasa 50s na, isang trabaho lang minsan, doon na kami forever. Ano, yung mga taga UP who is sponsored this, most probably they've been with UP for the longest time. Pero kayo po, may challenge na ganyan, no? You have to find 3 to 4 jobs in your 40-year career. And it is important, therefore, na kailangan yung mga emerging technology, naturally na nalalagay ninyo sa inyong perspective. So why am I talking about AI? Because of all the technology that exists now, AI adoption across industries is the highest. No? That they are expecting 63% to 59%, and this is a 27 result, okay, of offerings and processes it will be impacting industries. And this has changed significantly since then, okay, in 2 years' time. About a year ago, they reported that the expectations for AI is now 93%, no? From 60% to 93%, that it should be incorporated in various processes in industries. So the technology with greatest impact, this is known as the ABC. As we all know, innovation is driven by technology, majority by technology. And these are the ABCs of those technology that drives innovation. AI accounts for about 72%, and the other 20% is given by the B, the blockchain technology, and C, the cloud computing. No? And these are just the expectations. Huge amount. It can add to the economy by 2030, and in the Philippines, this will be about 12% uplift to the Philippine GDP. And this is assuming that we are pursuing the current trajectory, no, which is not, in my opinion, still ideal. We can still improve. So the second part of my presentation, I will be highlighting data science applications in government and industry. And hopefully, by providing or discussing this, you will have an idea that, hey, indeed, data science is a research degree. It's an applied research degree. And the better, and for the first time in a long, long time, ang isang research degree po sa Pilipinas can be paid handsomely. No? Ang isang data science na nagsosolve ng mga problems coming from data can be paid handsomely. Okay? Again, okay, the reason for that is let me go back to people. At the end of the day, this is all about people, no? Because of data, we know how people are connected. So this is just the social media and the connection of the different people. Because of data, we know how people actually interact with existing institutions, katulad po ng mga ATMs, no? So, alam natin kung nasaan ang wealth at any point in time. And because of data, we also know how people are moving. This is just the arrival of people in airports, no? At nakikita po natin na kaya na nating makita at ma-predict nasaan ang mga tao at any point in time. And now, we have a better understanding of how diseases, gossips, and information propagate. Despite the fact na napakarami na pong COVID cases, nakikita natin na itong COVID na nararamdaman natin na to, lalo na itong Delta variant, this is worse than the 1918 to 1919 Spanish flu that has actually impacted almost everyone in the population in the world. Medyo napiprevent pa po natin ngayon ito dahil nga mas alam natin kung paano nagpo-propagate ang mga disease. At mas konti ang namamatay po ngayon. So, this is one thing that I would like to emphasize, that is the value of data science. It allows you to actually understand the human being without your biases. Ang dami-dami pong bias ng tao. More than thousands ng biases ng tao. At dahil sa biases na yon, nagiging hindi clear sa atin kung gusto natin mag-empathize sa kapwa natin. Actually, most of the time, this is a projection of our own personal experience. But with data science, we know better now what are the things that consumers want, what are the things that our fellow kababayan, ang mga kaibigan natin, actually those are the things that they want. So bottom line is now we have a better understanding of the nature of human. And exactly this is the reason why innovation, 70% of which, as what I've shown in the previous figure, is really driven by two things. The first one is understanding data science. Here is where artificial intelligence comes in. But the second concept is that you need to add entrepreneurship to it. Understand value creation. And if you can have this, kung meron po kayo nitong dalawang perspective na to, data science at saka entrepreneurship, you can be one of these guys, no? Most innovative company in the world known as the Gandalf, no? Google, Amazon, Netflix, DBS, Apple, LinkedIn, Facebook. All of you probably consume this except for DBS, although I saw na merong kaninang galing sa Singapore. Lahat po yan were created by guys who has a very good understanding about data, has very good understanding about the IT, no? Lahat po yan, no? Si Page and Brin, when they created the PageRank algorithm, doon nagsimula ang Yahoo. Si Bezos, who's an electrical engineer, okay, created currently the largest corporate companies in the world, the most valuable company in the world, Amazon. Netflix, which was created by Hastings, etc. No? Zuckerberg, Huffman, etc. Lahat po ito ay may ability na maintindihan ng data, may ability ng tungkol sa IT, and at the same time, meron silang entrepreneurship skill para magkuha ng mga value sa mga information na ito. And this has been their strength, no? So most valuable companies in the world were created by professionals who understands data science, who understands IT, okay, who understands emerging technology. And they are naturally researchers, intrinsically researchers. So some examples po so that I can show you kung paano tinutulungan ng data science ng AI ang iba't ibang companies at government institutions. This is a work that we've done with Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. As you all know, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is responsible for processing or looking at more than 500 companies every month, 500 financial institutions every month. And they are using roughly 8 times 5, 40 man hours per week. Okay, just to look at one account. And if there are 50 accounts, you are looking at 20,000 man hours per month. No? By using and combining artificial intelligence, okay, we were able to reduce yung time na ginugugol po nila para dito from 20,000 man hours to 11 minutes. Now, this is what data science, AI, IT can do. This is 99.9% process time reduction. That they mentioned that this is something that they should have more than a decade ago. No? This is an example of something that affects especially those who are in Metro Manila. Ang Gat Dam supplies more than 92% of the water consumption sa Metro Manila at all the way to Bulacan and Calabarzon actually. But the problem is that the technology or the system that they have before can only forecast it from in 2 weeks time. By researching on AI and data science, we were able to extend this to 6 months. What is the difference with if you can forecast something 2 weeks to 6 months? You can do intervention. No? Mapo-forecast ninyo kung kailangan pakawalan ng tubig or kailangan hindi kayo magpakawala ng tubig. The magic number for Angat Dam is 180 meters. Too less and there is no water, there will be water shortage. Too high and there is too much rain, ang mangyayari po dito, it can cause flash floods, killing lives, no, flooding, etc. So again, data science and AI can help in doing this, no? And we were able to demonstrate this. Again, this is research. No, research po ang nag-drive nito. This is another work we have done with one of the biggest agricultural company in the country, more than 300 branches nationwide. And they are losing a lot of money because of the spoilage, because they are doing this for animal feeds, no? Nasisira po, nabubulok kasi hindi nabibili. So we created an AI to make sure that the moment na pinroduce nila yung mga feeds na yon at nilagay sa store na yon, okay, supply and demand essentially na problem, they will be able to have it na mabibili and specifically designed for each brand, no? Each branch. And the avoidance of spoilage allowed them to save an annual revenue of 100 million, no? Another example po, this is one of the largest manufacturing company in the world, and they are based in the Philippines, no? In fact, they produce more than 90% of one specific device na importante sa atin sa buong mundo. Sila yung gumagawa nun. They have very expensive, quite expensive equipment. Some can cost up to $500,000. And the problem is yung machine-human interaction. Pag napapagod yung tao, nagkakasakit yung tao or hindi niya napapakilaman yung machine, nagkakaroon ng gap and therefore nagkakaroon ng disruption sa processes. What we try to understand is how do you optimize this human-machine interaction. Kailangan mo ba dapat doblehin yung tao na ilalagay mo? Kasi most probably inaantok yung tao kapag ginagawa yung isang specific na equipment na yon, no? So in the process, we were able to save them 75 million of savings per 10 products, and they have hundreds of products in their company because of simply properly understanding machine-human interaction. This is a work that we've done with one of the largest pharmaceutical company in ASEAN, and they control also several hospitals. And as we all know, it is very important now that we understand yung hospital capacity. And the system that we develop for these guys, the research that we develop for these guys is that we try to forecast how long will this individual stay in the hospital. And by doing so, mapaplano po nila yung capacity nila, may improve nila yung quality ng service nila, at malalaman nila kung ilan yung kaya nila na i-accommodate na pasyente every now and then. So we saved them 15.3 million per annum for 10 diseases for the two hospitals, at least for the two hospitals that they control. Again, this is another research, no? Contact tracing. Alam po natin na sinabi nga ni Sec Duque na may problema yung stay safe. Pinag-aralan po namin yon, and ang 4 na cities po, Pasig, Valenzuela, Antipolo, Mandaluyong, we helped them come up with a contact tracing app that can pinpoint kung ano yung mga vulnerable na individuals. Hindi lamang po yon, kung sino yung mga super spreaders. No? Kung sino yung mga super spreaders And therefore, yung mga super spreaders can impact in our calculation can actually to some extent impact more than 800 individuals. Ito yung mga paikot-ikot, galaw ng galaw, or sometimes ito yung mga cashier na pag hindi mo sila nalaman, ang dami nilang maaapektuhan. So, part po ng algorithm na ginawa namin yan, dineploy namin at ginagamit po ito ng 4 na consortium cities. 5 na po actually ngayon, kasama na ang Rizal. And artificial intelligence can be used in aging and drug discovery. So in this work, some of the things that we've demonstrated is that you can in fact understand kung ano po. Nakita po naman natin no, yung vaccine from 15 years na-reduce siya into normally approximately dati 10 to 15 years, na-reduce siya in less than a year. And this is because of data science. Now, this is because of the way we now understand data. Dito po sa mga research na ito, pinakita namin that the impact of the different drugs, for example, will be different for different nationality. No, isa po sa pinakita namin na work dito sa article na ito. And in education, since a good portion of you here are educators, isa po sa ginagawa sa AIM ngayon ay we get projects, and everyone who will be in who want to get projects for the students, they have to pay something like $10,000. Okay, and ito po yung mga companies that we've worked with. And all in all, dito po we've worked with more than 40 companies now, and this is just 2020, sorry. And the amount of revenue that we gave to these companies is greater than $40 million. And this is the number not given by our students, but these are the numbers given by mostly the CFO, the chief financial officers of those companies. No? So in art and creativity, it is also impacted by new technology. This is a Fernando Amorsolo and my pace done by one students. Combining this, okay, through what is referred to as a deep learning algorithm, kaya mo pong gumawa ng iba't ibang arts. And you can automatically colorize things. So it changes the way we think, we do things, even in arts, no? Or even colorize videos. Ang main point ko lamang po sa lahat ng mga example na ito, and dito ako pupunta sa National AI Roadmap. I'm looking at my time. I still have 7 minutes. Hindi na po natin may iwasan ng artificial intelligence sa panahon na to. It pervades our life. Lahat po ng mga areas na to pinupuntahan niya. And kapag nag-invest tayo dito, clear ang return. At nakikita nyo rin po ang reason kung bakit mataas ang bayad sa mga data scientists. Ang mga estudyante po namin who works with these different companies as a student, during their thesis, they are hired mostly by those companies at a premium, no? They normally increase their salary by a factor of 3 times, 3.5 times this year, after completing the degree programs. Not aside from demand, it is really because of the value that they can give to the different companies. And this is therefore, it is no surprise that the government around the world see artificial intelligence as a nation-defining capability. The same way that previously, nakikita natin ng strength ng army or ang oil ang nagdi-define sa strength ng isang bansa. No? We are one of the first 50 who had the National AI Roadmap, and we actually launched this AI Roadmap in May 5, no, after the May 4 sa mga Star Wars na pan. This is May 5. Ayaw nating kuhanin yung Star Wars na day. In 2021, this year, no, May 5, 2021. And one of the things that I would like to highlight, okay, in this AI roadmap, there are 42 strategic tasks. But one of the things that we are very excited is strategic task number 27, which is the creation of a national center for AI research. What we want to establish here is to upskill and reskill the education of people on artificial intelligence in the entire country, help MSMEs, help the one-stop shop for micro, small, medium enterprises to go into that one. But one of the focus of this is really AI research, algorithmic innovations. No? Isa po yun sa gusto nating mangyari, dahil if only by doing so, by publishing original works in research, can we become one of the legitimate center of excellence in the world. At yun po yung gusto natin na goal, no? Bigyan ng malalaking salary ang mga nandoon sa academics na gustong gumawa ng research comparable sa buong mundo. And this cannot be done by the government alone. So alam po namin that if it will be subjected to salary standardization law at yung mga COA, mababagal na processes ng gobyerno, hindi po ito, it will in fact defeat the purpose of AI. The main purpose of AI is agility. Pero pag nilagay mo yan at dinali mo ng malaki sa gobyerno, mawawala yung concept ng agility. So the idea here is that this is for developmental po ang purpose nito. It's really an R&D for socio-economic needs. We are looking for R&D that will immediately benefit the industry and the greater good of the society, but we will spend a lot of time developing algorithms that are customized specifically for the Philippine setting but has a global impact. So these are just some of those that priority areas where that this AI center will look at: agriculture, transportation, smart manufacturing, healthcare, and resilient technology. Again, these are chosen because these are very important for the Philippine setting. No? These are just some of the guys who help us during ito po, marami pa po na nakasama natin na nakausap natin sa development nitong AI roadmap together with these different institutions. Whole of government approach ang general na idea, and of course sabi ko nga importante dito na may mga enterprise na involved, no? So we are raising a $10 million initially, and hopefully we will be able to get all of that soon, so it's that we can start this first quarter of next year, no? And all industry support. So ibig sabihin po lahat ng pera dito ay galing sa industry, hindi po ito subject sa COA or salary standardization law. In fact, the salary of the personnel that will be hired here will be in dollars para po international po ang feel ng ating institution, and we will be getting international scientists then. So as a proof of principle kung paano po nagme-merge in the last 2 minutes ang data science and entrepreneurship at saka yung emerging technology, na-create po yung school that I am heading currently now about 4 years ago. No? About this School of Innovation, Technology, and Entrepreneurship. Madali po sa amin na makakausap ng mga entrepreneurs dahil legendary po ang AIM pagdating sa entrepreneurs. No? Almost all these companies, they were product of AIM, more than 800 of them. Name a company, most probably they've been linked to AIM or in one way or another, or they grow their company as part of AIM. And ang idea po namin dito, pag samasamahin namin ng mga geeks, ang mga IT na katulad ninyo, ng marami sa audience natin, mga entrepreneurs, at saka mga malilikot ang utak, mga innovators. And create that, dito po ang Master of Science in Data Science namin, PhD in Data Science, and we are housing the fastest AI computer in the country, no? At 1.2 petaflops, na feature po siya sa Asian Scientist, sa isa sa pinakamalakas na computer sa ASEAN, no? And immediately nakakuha po siya ng mga supporters, including the Aboitiz. Kaya Aboitiz ang unang pangalan ng school namin. We get a $10 million Aboitiz donation from the Aboitiz group as an endowment. Most of the purpose of this is really is to help our company, the students who would like to pursue MS Data Science or PhD in Data Science. So ito lang po yung ilan sa mga sponsors natin. At gusto ko pong i-end ang presentation ko dito sa picture na to. No? Makikita niyo po dito ang Ayala Group. Nandito po ang head ng Globe, nandito po ang head ng BPI, nasa likod ko po yung president ngayon ng BPI, nakita niyo po si Jasa, IMI, Ayala Health, etc. And they listen to geeks. This is unimaginable when I completed my PhD in physics degree, MS Physics degree, na makakausap natin at makikinig sa atin ang mga mga top guys ng different companies. And this is what I would like to highlight po ngayon. Na nakikinig po sila ngayon dahil kailangan nilang makinig sa emerging technology. So, proof of concept, okay, if you properly understand IT, data science, and have this entrepreneur's perspective, sa lalo na po sa mga estudyante natin ngayon, you can indeed increase your value. No? This is the numbers that we got from our MS Data Science students and MSIB students. Mainly the idea is that we make sure that they understand that data should be at the center of whatever things they do, no? Minsan po ang problema kasi hindi aligned ang deliverables ng industry, society at academic na community. Society values impact and service, industry value creation ng critical, academic, publish or perish, no? But if you put data, they will be all aligned. So, and again, this is the main reason, no, kung bakit mas may agility kapag data yung nasa gitna. Opinion versus opinion, panalo ang mas malakas na boses. But if we have opinion versus data, nananalo ang data. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you po. Thank you, Monique.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Monterrella. Thank you. Um, for those questions are related to his presentation, we'll try our best to answer it in the Q&A tab or later in our panel discussion. So now, for the next presentation, it will be about practical data science. He's the founder of Future Generation International, a NUS Gold Medal awardee, a distinguished alumni Cesar E.A. Virata School of Business, UP Diliman, a distinguished alumni Divine Word Academy of Dagupan, Philippines. Please welcome Mr. Wilson Chua.
Thank you, Monique. Let me check my microphone. And can you see my slides? Let me check that you can see my slides.
We can hear you, but no slides yet.
Here you go. Can you see it now?
There, we can see your screen. Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. And I'm so honored to be speaking right after Dr. Chris Monterola and before Dr. Wilson Tan. I hope to be able to share my journey, no, in data science. So for me, data science is all about crunching numbers and telling a compelling story. We tell insightful stories that leads to action. Yan ang importante. Our stories from those data or numbers must lead to actions. So I first applied this to the problem that is dengue. And we zeroed in on using satellite data that was used for agriculture and repurposed that to identifying stagnant water. Why? Because that is where mosquitoes live. And so if you then pass on that data to the local government officials, they can then institute mosquito control operations. That will keep the population of mosquitoes down. And since mosquitoes are the vectors of spread for not only malaria or dengue, but also Zika and chikungunya, you can see the large impact that this has. Unfortunately, when I shared this idea to PhilHealth, hindi nila gets. They did not get it. No? If they were to hire, let's say, AIM and they paid them 1 million a month for a year, that is just 12 million. Our estimates show that PhilHealth could have saved up to 2 billion pesos a year from avoiding paying hospital fees for dengue alone. So, kulang doon eh. Anyway, after dengue, still on the subject of dengue, Zerolytics, a very good data analytics company, took this idea, adapted it, improved on it, and entered it into the NASA Global Space Challenge, where they won the first place. So you see the dichotomy. You have a Philippine government company that does not value the data, and you have NASA that gave them the first prize. So I leave you to analyze what happens after that. That is one of the key things for data scientists. As Dr. Monterola has said, not only do you stand to gain to earn more, but more importantly, you can drive impact. You can create meaning in your life and leave a legacy. Next, we went to the problem of the poor internet in the Philippines. No, what to do about that? So we decided to create a mobile app, speed test mobile app that we called projectbus.org. And And this app measures Philippine internet signals and bandwidth. Armed with the vast data, we created two dashboards showing the fastest network in each municipality down to the barangay level for both Wi-Fi and mobile internet. So this is a win-win for all stakeholders. Subscribers use this dashboard when they need to choose a provider in a particular area. ISPs, cable TV operators, and even the large nationwide telcos use the dashboard to do QA or audit their field installations. We also supplied the data to DICT itself when they wanted the cell site tower data, and recently to DepEd and the City of Manila when they want to do bandwidth internet infrastructure analysis. So this is a win-win for all. So today, I'm excited to share with you how we can use data to fight COVID. These are some of the slides that we presented to the IATF as early as April of 2020. Something along the lines that Dr. Monterola presented to you, and that is now being used by the 5 areas. No? And this is what we call network graph analytics. I'd like to introduce this concept. What you see now is a combination of circles and lines. In network graph analytics, these circles and lines are used to represent relationships. It could be used to show friendships or the spread of ideas from one author to the next, or as in the examples given by Dr. Monterola, how viruses spread from one person to another. But for today, we will use it to explain the spread of COVID in the Philippines. So for now, each of those circles represents not a person, but a city or a municipality. You will notice that the circles are of different sizes. The larger circles denote cities with larger population. Then we connect each of these cities together by the known travel paths. No? From one city to another, you will see lines connecting these two circles. We then give identification for some cities, A, B, C, D, and E. Now, look at this graph, network graph carefully. You will notice that some of the cities are more important than others. And one key way to look at it is by noticing how many links there are from one city to the others. I direct your attention to node B. So node B has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 links. So it has the highest number of links of among the nodes in this visual. You know what that means? In network graph analytics, we call node B as something with a high degree centrality. In Dr. Monterola's term, this is a potential super spreader, as we will show later in our simulation. Next also, we'd like to see the high in-betweenness score. From one city going to another city, which other intermediate city do they need to pass through to get to the final destination? And again, in our illustration today, it is node B. It is what we call a node with high betweenness score in network graph parlance. Okay, so that is the theory. Now we show you the simulation. Suppose COVID hits node A, and suppose that every week COVID will spread to the adjoining neighbor. Let us count how many weeks it will take COVID to spread from A to all of the cities in this illustration. So we count first week, second week, third week, fourth week, fifth week, and sixth week. So remember that item. It takes 6 weeks to spread all over if it hits node A. Node A is relatively isolated. It has only one link. Therefore, if the virus hits A, it spreads more slowly. But in contrast, let us see how the pandemic could spread even faster if it hits a high degree node like B. So again, we bring back the notation, and now we see that B is hit. Now, we now count how many weeks it gets to spread, because in the earlier scenario, it took 6 weeks. Now, in this scenario, it will take 1, 2, and 3. It will now take 3 weeks to spread. Therefore, if you were government, you would take pains to ensure that a highly connected location does not get COVID. Or if it does, the next possible step mitigation is to deploy blockage or movement control. So here, the government has to control only 3 routes, and it helps prevent the spread from B to uh, A, C, D, and E. You see? So with that as a background, let's do a demo. Okay? The demo that I will be showing uses data from Facebook's Data for Good. I have access to this special data because of my work, research work with the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Administration. So the tool I'm sharing with you is free to use, okay? So we get started, and then we drag the file that we want to analyze. There you go. And then we zoom out and go find the Philippines. So there you go. That's the Philippines. Now that we have the data in there, we would like to choose our visualization. For my purposes, I will choose the arc, okay? Because we want to show the travel arc. Now we will specify the starting location denoted by latitude and longitude of the starting points. There you go. So starting latitude and starting longitude. Next, we will indicate the path. We know the start point. We also want to chart the end point. So here we are we're inputting the endpoints. All the starting point will start with the color red, and all the ending points will color them green. This is a very busy visualization. Let's turn on 3D view. Okay, zoom in, and we can see all the travel patterns. This alone doesn't really give us much insight. So this is not the complete story. Now I will show you how, by using filters, we can craft a compelling story about the lockdowns in NCR. So here we'll limit all the lines to only those travels that started with NCR. And then we'd like to limit it further to show only those travels that actually increased. So Z-score is a mathematical concept of how many standard deviations from the median compared to pre-pandemic levels. So that's where you see that we're filtering it to those that are twice, 3 times, and 4 times more travel coming out of NCR during the period between the announcement of the lockdown and the actual lockdown itself. So you can see a lot of people escape Metro Manila. This was I think a suboptimal decision by the national government. You see? And all of those places I'm now zooming into are places that later on got the Delta variant. Guess where they got it? This is a very compelling visual to show how public policy can be further improved. And expectedly, 1 month later, September 6, Dr. Jomar Fajardo Rabahante tweeted this. The only thing to notice is that COVID cases increased in all the regions from Metro Manila. And again, we now have the data to show where it came from, Metro Manila. So now we use the DOH data set. They update this every day. This was given in another talk for Cebu. Let's see how Cebu did in terms of the T3 concept. testing, tracing, and treatment. So the first chart over here that you see is what happened. You will see two peaks for Cebu, and this is the x-axis is the date, 12-month period, ending October 1. Now let us show what the people did during that time. Kasi sabi nila, ay siguro because the spike could have been because pasaway ang mga tao. But in fact, Facebook's data for good show that people actually, majority actually stayed at home. This is the the orange bar, more than pre-pandemic period. Up to 30, between 35% more people stayed at home. And if they traveled shorter distances. This is the blue bar. Next, we look at the actual government performance in Cebu. So the red line is the test positivity rate. When it goes up, it tells you that the government was not testing enough people. For Cebu, despite, except for the peak, it now went down to 11%. And this is as of October. I would assume it would have been lower by now. So in so far as testing, Cebu government did a relatively better job. But in terms of tracing, we can show that they're absolutely dismal performance at 0.08%. Poor performance. In terms of treating, however, the medical community in and around Cebu did a fantastic job at 0.00% fatality. So here are the numbers that tell the story and that will create impact, because these types of data, like what Dr. Monterola mentioned, in God we trust, all others bring data, right? Now here is something I think would create the most impact for COVID prevention. We note that there are studies that really said that, if you compare indoor transmission to outdoor transmission, indoor transmission is actually 18,700% higher than outdoor transmission. Now, why is this? My personal assumption is because this is in aircon environments. And you know what? In aircon environments, they close the windows and the doors. And what happens when you close all avenues of escape of air? The virus gets trapped inside, accumulates, and waits to infect its next victim. But that is just my assumption. Let us see what other people or scientific studies have done so far. And for that, we share with you a recent development. This is from Singapore. NUS and NTU scientists teamed up to create a device to measure viral particles in the air. So this is what they call air surveillance approach. Because honestly, we cannot see visually with our eyes if whether or not there are viral particles in the air. So they developed this device. And I point out some interesting results from their study. They found that COVID is more prevalent in the air than on surfaces. Because remember, initially when COVID first struck, everybody was saying, oh, it's fomite, it's on the surfaces, it's on the droplets. No. This study says it's suspended in the air. Shortcut, it's in the air. But not everyone can have a device like that. In the Philippines, who will have devices like that? So here's this simple idea garnered from another paper. Why don't we use carbon dioxide as the measure, as a proxy measure, to measure the risk of exposure? The idea is really simple. When you exhale the COVID virus, you also exhale carbon dioxide. If a room is not well ventilated, there will be an accumulation of carbon dioxide. And therefore, if you measure carbon dioxide and it is high, it means that there is a possibility of a high-risk exposure to COVID as well for those specific indoor spaces. Now, the next question is, okay, But at what level would carbon dioxide be considered safe or unsafe? For this, we share with you uh, a study shared to me by Dr. Antonio Danz of the HPAC, the Public Health Physicians Group. No, I just need to call your attention to the 1,000 ppm. So this study is about tuberculosis. They found that when a room has a carbon dioxide level reading of above 1,000 ppm, parts per million, TB is infectious. Now, all doctors agree, COVID is more infectious than TB. So we can right now use the 1,000 ppm as our trigger level. That is conservative for sure. At 1,000 ppm, if there's COVID virus in the air, there's a higher risk. Okay? In New Zealand, for the purposes of DepEd, arguing whether or not face-to-face, here is another study or rule from the New Zealand government for classrooms. They made a classification based on carbon dioxide. And here's the area that is safe. Anything below 1,000. Anything above 1,000 is unsafe. Now, carbon dioxide monitoring is now affordable because of advances in IoT. Again, I refer to Dr. Chris Monterola's presentation earlier on. IoT collects the data for us data scientists to analyze. No? And so there are devices like this. In Lazada, I think it's about 1,000 pesos only. It will measure not only carbon dioxide, but also temperature and humidity. And we've set up a Google form where you can share your findings with us. And here's the URL. So we attempt to collect that, all those readings, and do something like this. This is already happening in Singapore. It's called spaceout.gov.sg.